Okay, so I have one of my RAM cards, one of my Wizard of War RAM cards. I have my Wizard of War pattern board and my Wizard of War CPU board. Now, this CPU board is as good as it's going to get because I verified both of the customs are bad. The board is good other than the customs. So that one, that's all I can do with it. One of the cards is good after capping it. This one is bad. So I got one card to fix, and I got to fix this pattern board. So that's the way this one's turning out. And I have, Gorf up here. And of course I do have to check the sounds and make sure the sounds are all good, but I'll do that at some other point. So turns out that one card, the one RAM card, all it needed, the one with the nice ceramic rams, that one, all it needed was caps. And I've recapped both of these. So this one has something bad on it yet. So we will, we'll go through it, fix it. And I do have a couple Arcade Jason special Midway card rack cards bare that I bought from Arcade Jason. You can see. Maybe I will populate these and test the pattern board and the card and see what it tells me. Although the pattern board test is kind of useless, to be honest. That's just going to be putting this thing on the bench and going through it with a scope. But the RAM cards is a great test. So maybe I will populate this and test the RAM card anyway, and it would tell me what RAMs are bad on it. So maybe I will do that. Just for that purpose, just for the purpose of doing the RAM cards, it's worth it. But the pattern board, it'll tell you a certain section is no good, but there's so much in those, maybe it'll point you in the right direction, but I don't know. It's just so vague as far as these, and there's so much circuitry on these. It's better just put it on the bench and start probing. So, but yeah, maybe I will go ahead and populate these. Okay, so this has been fun putting together. This thing sucked getting this in here, but I got it. I had to put this switch on because I watched Sam over at Arcade Fix on YouTube, and he had a set of these from Arcade Jason. And he had problems with using a 2732 and having both files in a ROM. And I went ahead and I've made this to where I can do that, but you do have to do a little bit of finagling. I put a 10K resistor in between there. I don't know what it called for. I used a 10K. And what you do, okay, I have this wired like this. My switch is wired to this thing, these two pads. And this is that 10K resistor, and I've got it jumped over to pin 21. Pin 21 on a 2732 is address bit 11. I believe. Where is my this? Address bit 11 is pin 21, 19, 20, 21, address bit 11. Address bit 11 is going to determine whether the ROM is going to be selecting from the lower half or the upper half. So if you set it low, it'll select from the lower half. If you select it high, it will select from the upper half of the ROM. So you do this. That's a pull-up resistor. It's 10K. It'll pull that pin high. It'll hold that pin high. If this isn't switched, because you can see this big trace right here is connected to ground. So when that's switched, it'll pull that low. in that this resistor will isolate the you know, the positive rail from ground. So it just, that's how that'll work. Now if I put my camera up here, I'll show you how this will work. Okay, do a zoom a little bit. Okay, and let's see, let me grab my, I want to make it to where I'm going to make a label too, where RAM test is that this way, and the test for the pattern board is to the right. And I'm going to put the RAM test program in the lower half of the 2732. In the upper half, I'll have the pattern board test. And right now, I have it to where the lower half will be grounded. So pin 21 should be connected to ground, and it is. See, pin 21 is connected to ground. And now, see, it's also connected here, but it's not pulled high, it's being pulled low, and this 10K resistor is isolating it from positive. Now if I switch this over, that basically disconnects that switch, so pin 21 will now be pulled through this high because it's no longer connected to ground. See? So now it'll go high, pulled through this 10K resistor. So that's how that'll work. I'll have the lower half of the 2732 with my RAM program. So that's how that'll work. Yeah, that the way this was, it needed a little adjustment for it to work right. And I've got some double-sided tape with my switch here. You know, that stuff, the double-sided tape. I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue on the sides too to just help it. And that'll be that. That board's done. Yeah, this board's done. I got my 12 pin header. These other headers aren't necessary, so I'm not even putting them in. Yeah, I got my socket for my RAMs. Got my edge connector. So yeah, now I just got to build the other board. The other one won't take as long. Alright, well, I have, this one is complete. This one I'm waiting on word from Arcade Jason about the value of these resistors. It's not silk screen and I can't find anything about this. I can't find any info on it. So my guess is they're 1K resistors, but I'm not going to guess. I'm going to wait until I hear. And this board looks awesome. I made this little label. RAM test that way, pattern test that way. I got my ROMs burnt. I got the RAM test program in the lower half of the ROM and the pattern test in the upper half. And to switch from the lower half to the upper half, you just go like that. Now it's upper half, now it's lower half. Pretty nifty. Got my RAMs in there. This one's done. This board's done. And I've cleaned up the back of it nice. A little bit of glue there on that, on those wires to keep them from catching and anything and breaking. And I've cleaned this up really nice. And got this trimmed up really good. Yeah, it's looking great. And the same with this. I have not cleaned this one yet. Haven't cleaned it because I still got to do those resistors. But I got this in there. I'm not bothering with the. I'm not bothering with these because you don't use them for anything. I've got my connector in here. I'm not bothering with any of these ones that you don't use. So. Alright, anyway, I could test pattern boards. I can't test RAM yet until this is there. I think I will test pattern board because I think my pattern board has an issue on it. I know this one does. I can test this pattern board. So I'll go ahead and do that. Just go pattern board test. There we go. And give it a shot. Alright, I put this together and tried it out and it didn't work, and I found out I was doing it wrong anyway. I had the ROM board in there. But I realized that I probed pin 21, which is supposed to be either held high or low through the switch, and it was pulsing. It had a signal on it, and I didn't understand. I was like, why has that got a signal on it? I can't see this thing. It's not a trace to anywhere. This thing is tied to pin 4 somehow. See that? That's tied to pin 4, and pin 4 is an address bit. And I don't see a trace where that is tied to pin 4. I don't get it. Now I'm going to have to investigate more and find out how pin 4 is tied to that resistor, because I don't see it. I don't see how that is. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm going to keep looking. Okay, yeah, under the microscope, this is, I wish I could do this. I wish I could show you this. But it had to have just been an error on Arcade Jason's part. Because that right there, if I can hold that on there steady, this is tied to that trace going underneath. Yep, it sure is. It sure as shit is. It's tied to pin 4. And it should not be tied to pin 4. It needs to be tied to pin 21. So that is what's wrong with it. So I think what I'm going to have to do is... That's going to be... You know what I need to do is I'm going to have to remove this resistor, get in here under the scope with a Dremel and sever that trace. Where that trace goes, you can't hardly see it. I had to get under the microscope to see it. But the trace between pin 4 over here and pin 4 over here goes right by that through hole, and it goes down and connects to the through hole. You can't really hardly see it, hardly. Come on, focus. Yeah, but where that trace goes by, it is connected to that through hole. So that's just a mistake. That's a design mistake. That should have been tied to pin 21. It's the 4th pin down over here, and it's the 4th pin down over here, so it's just the wrong side. Yeah. So I will remove that resistor, get my Dremel out with a cutter, and just really carefully sever that from that without cutting the trace going across. So it's going to be kind of delicate. I'll do that and I'll be back. Alright, I will try. You can see where the cut is right there. See that? I get too close, I'm going to go out of focus. Yeah, see? Just got under the scope and just cut that away from the trace. So the trace is not damaged, but that through hole is now disconnected from that trace going across there. So now this will work. Should anyway. So, alrighty, cool. I'll put another 10K resistor in there and see what we get. I'm going to just make sure pin 4 is still connected to pin 4. I'm sure it is. I can see under the scope, and it's clearly, the trace isn't cut. but it's clearly cut away from that through hole, which is nice. So I'll go ahead and put a new resistor in there. I'll be back. Alright, now I believe I have this correct. I've got the pin 4 isolated off of that resistor, and then you have to jump the resistor over to pin 21, and pin 21 is connected over here as well, so it goes to both. So that should take care of that. So let's hook up and see what we get. Okay, yeah, and I did figure it out. I have no board in there, so it's just every error. I had a flaky short up on this card edge. It was just a hairline short between two pins. Once I cleared that out, it works good now. So yeah, I have this is my double size ROM, and I'm selecting the upper side of it. I was pulling my hair out a little bit, and I removed the resistor. I made it to where I jumped pin 24 to 21 on both of them, and I burnt single ROMs, just the pattern board and the RAM board files, because I was like, maybe it just won't work with the double file thing. And I burnt those, and it still didn't work, and I was like, okay, there's something on here that I'm just missing, and it was a little hairline short up here. So I removed that. I put these two ROMs in it, my pattern board ROMs that I burnt, and it came up and worked. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to redo this switch, reintegrate my switch, and I did put my ROMs, my doubled ROMs back in it. And I've got pattern test selected, and that's the pattern test right there. Heck yeah. So I will test my pattern board, because I believe my pattern board has an issue. But yeah, this thing's working now. Excellent. All right. I went ahead and put this guy in there. It says bad graphics. We have data bus okay, X wide bad, flop okay, flip bad. The adder is bad, area CT bad, and IO status bad. There's that 10 status. I don't know. IO status, 10 status. No, it's pretty bad. But I'll write all this down and we'll see what it means. Get the manual, see what it means. All right. I just got this guy put all together. I got word from Sam, from Sam's Arcade Fix. Thank you, Sam. These were 100 ohm resistors, and I didn't have that many 100 ohm resistors. I had about this many. The rest of them, I have some 150s, and then I have some 120s. I imagine these are just current limiting, so 100 to 150 should be absolutely fine. So this thing is complete now and cleaned up nicely. No flux, no fluxy, messy residue. That is paper towel. Yeah, so I got my I got this thing trimmed down nicely, the connector. Yeah, so we're ready to test some RAM cards. Well, I got one that I need to test that is bad. It is this guy. This guy right here needs to be tested. So let's hook it up and test it out. Okie doke. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to RAM test and put this in here. And I guess that's how this goes. Hook this here and hook this up my Gorf harness. Okay, and we're gonna send it up to the I'm just using my black and white monitor. Okay, and we'll go ahead and just lay this thing down, and I want to fire it up the way that it is right now and see if it comes up with just a RAM error, what it does with no card in it. Here we go. See what this does with no card in it. Hey, it's working. It's flashing every RAM. Yeah, it's working. But it's flashing every single RAM. See? Okay, so I will turn this off. And I will put this RAM card in here. And turn it on. Yeah, okay, here we go. And it's saying every RAM. I wonder if I've got it in the right way. I don't know if you're supposed to have only one RAM card or what. I'm going to take one of my good RAM cards. I had both RAM cards in it. And I don't know. This goes this way, I take it. Right? I am just going to do a little beeping out. Let me take care of this and I'll be right back. I just want to make sure I'm putting this in right. Okay, this is interesting. This is my good board right here. And it tells you that nothing's wrong with it, right? No errors, nothing flashing. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to put this board back in it because I thought that something was wrong with my setup. Because watch what this one does. Every RAM flashes. So here we go. And watch, every RAM flashes. So every RAM is testing bad on this. So that means that there is something universal wrong with this board. You know what I should do is go to try going to position 2. That's supposed to be, and then hitting reset. Yeah, that don't tell me nothing. I don't know what that is. Let me go back to position 1 if I can. Reset. It tells me every RAM is bad. So yeah, I'm just going to have to do some probing. I don't think, I kind of don't think it's a RAM issue. I think it's a logic other than RAM. So on this particular card. So that's going to require some probing around. All right, we have the board out. Got my extender in there. Got the RAM card here. And I found the problem. Just as the test was saying, all the RAMs are bad. It's universal. Here's a 0.8 with this is an input. Here's the other input. It's just high, so it's just buffering. and this is the output. So that is the issue. So we'll replace this 08 here and we should be good to go. Okay, I got the test setup hooked back up. I got a new 08 in there. So we'll go ahead and fire this thing up. Let me get it up out of the way. All right, we are on. And see if we blink. Ah, see, now it's telling me that there is a RAM bad. Okay, it's towards the back top. Hey, that's a good thing. It's socketed. It's this one. It's telling me this one's bad. So we can do that really quick. I can change that guy really quick. Okay, really quickly swapped out new RAM, and we'll go ahead and fire it up and see if our RAM issue has gone away. And look at that. Now we have a good card. Excellent. We will take this guy, put it in the bad pile of bad chips. So, I got the ROM file all onto one, just two chips. I can do both by flipping a switch on that. So that is absolutely awesome. So now I can put this back together with his this repaired RAM card. I still have to fix this guy, and that's for tomorrow. I'm not messing with that. I'm happy with our progress for the day. I got the RAM cards, the test cards working, and fixed a RAM card. So I'll do a little research on those codes, what that stuff means on the pattern board. I wrote down the notes of what it was telling me. So that'll be tomorrow. See you then.